Hey everyone, and welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're breaking down a really fascinating look at how our personal privacy has been quietly slipping away over the last 180 years. The central argument from our source material is that this current state of mass surveillance we're living in, well, it didn't just happen overnight. It's been a super gradual shift, driven by a mix of technology, legal changes, and corporate policies. Let's dive right in and explore exactly how we got here. To really grasp this, the privacy advocates behind our source use a brilliant analogy. The classic boiling frog metaphor. You know the old story, right? Drop a frog into a pot of cool water, slowly turn up the heat, and the frog just never notices the rising temperature. It simply adapts to every tiny degree of change. By the time the water is actually boiling, it's trapped, and it's way too late. That is exactly how they describe the fading of our legal privacy. For generations, the heat has been ticking up, and we've just been happily swimming around in the pot, totally enjoying the warm water of convenience. So we kick things off with phase one, the comfortable cool, covering everything prior to the 1990s. Back then, the water felt absolutely fine to our proverbial frog. You might think data brokering is a modern Silicon Valley invention, but actually, scratch that. It started way back in 1841 with a mercantile agency tracking individual credit and character. By 1921, credit associations were already operating in 230 cities, building massive paper archives on millions of ordinary Americans. But as all this data grew, so did the legal pushback. In 1965, the Griswold v. Connecticut ruling established a constitutional right to privacy, which the source flags as a massive legal milestone. Then came the Privacy Act of 1974. But, as the advocates point out, while these were huge legal victories, they really only offered limited paper-based hope in a world that was about to turn completely upside down. Which brings us to phase two. The water begins to warm. It's the 1990s, the internet arrives, and active tracking officially begins. We hit 1994, and a company called Netscape invents the browser cookie. Now that sounds harmless enough, right? But the source highlights this as a literal watershed moment. A cookie is just a tiny file dropped on your computer that reports your online habits back to companies. For the very first time in human history, websites could actively remember you, follow you across the web, and build a digital profile of your habits without you ever filling out a single paper form. Active, invisible tracking had officially arrived. The craziest part is how differently the world reacted to this. Over in Europe, sensing the danger of this new digital scale, the EU issued its first data protection directive in 1995 to try and regulate the space. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, it was a totally different story. A landmark study showed that by 1997, out of the 100 most visited US websites, only 17 even bothered to have a privacy policy, and none of them met basic standards. American companies were just rapidly expanding in what the source calls an unregulated Wild West of personal data. Moving right along to phase three, the heat rises. From 2001 to 2012, post-9/11 fear and the arrival of the smartphone completely changed the game. This era saw a rapid escalation. Just 45 days after 9/11, the Patriot Act granted these sweeping new monitoring powers, often completely bypassing traditional warrants. That very same year, the first GPS-enabled mobile phones hit the market. Fast forward to 2008, the FISA Amendments Act created Section 702. This allowed the NSA to collect foreign communications. But as the source is quick to point out, it swept up enormous amounts of ordinary American data right along with it, through what they called incidental collection. The legal guardrails were just fundamentally shifting beneath our feet. And we have to talk about the Pentagon's 2002 Total Information Awareness Program. The source highlights this as a pivotal moment where the government basically tried to build a gigantic surveillance scheme connecting all private data, travel, credit, medical, emails into one mega system. Massive public outcry actually killed the main program, but the privacy advocates note a super chilling detail here. Many pieces of that exact infrastructure just quietly survived and were dispersed into other agencies. And that leads us straight to phase four, the boiling point. 2013 to the present day. The water is officially boiling, but the frog is just too weak to jump. Over the last decade or so, a cascade of massive revelations prove that mass surveillance isn't just some fringe conspiracy theory. It is the functioning infrastructure of our modern world. In 2013, the Snowden leaks exposed NSA bulk collection programs. In 2018, we got a huge Supreme Court case, Carpenter v. United States, ruling the police need a warrant for long-term phone location data. A win, for sure, but agencies quickly found legal loopholes. Cut to 2021, the Pegasus project revealed military-grade spyware infecting phones in over 45 countries, proving literally no device is safe. And just recently, in 2024, the RZA expansion drastically widened the net, targeting almost anyone with physical access to internet hardware. Okay, let's take a breath and look at the result of all this. A fully surveilled reality. The pot is boiling. This entire infrastructure was built around us while we were just busy enjoying the perks of free maps, social media, and instant messaging. So what does this reality actually mean to you, the average person, today? First off, consider your location. Your smartphone records where you are every few seconds. But here is where that legal evolution becomes absolutely critical. Because of the loopholes left open after cases like Carpenter, that location data is sold to commercial data brokers, who then turn around and sell it straight to law enforcement. According to the source, this effectively allows agencies to completely bypass Fourth Amendment warrant requirements. Next, consider your network. This brilliantly illustrates just how sophisticated things have gotten. Nobody even needs to read your text messages or listen to your calls anymore. The source explains that metadata alone, literally just the data of who you call, when, and for how long, is completely enough. Analysts use that metadata to map out your entire social graph. With it, they can confidently predict your political leanings, your future behaviors, health conditions, and even your financial vulnerabilities. Now, the privacy advocates from our source do suggest a few things you can do to regain a little control, like using end-to-end encrypted messaging, switching to privacy-focused browsers, and being super strict about your app permissions. But they ultimately conclude with a pretty stark reality. True privacy is nearly impossible today. Tracking isn't just some tool used on suspects anymore. It's fundamentally baked into the DNA of the modern world. It's in every app, every device, and every platform we use. If you want to regain your privacy by fully opting out, the source argues you are essentially forced to opt out of modern society entirely. So we leave you with this final, incredibly provocative thought straight from the source material. The water is boiling. Will we notice in time to do something? That 180-year shift happened, and the frog never jumped because every single degree of change just felt too small to matter. Well, the water is boiling now. The infrastructure is fully built. The only question left is, will we notice in time to actually do something about it? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep questioning the world around you, and we'll catch you next time.